So you did your first show on Whatnot, and after checking your payout, you realized, where did all of your money go? Fees, shipping, and other costs can drastically cut into our profits. If this is a problem you've experienced, or maybe you've never done a show on Whatnot and you don't want to experience this problem, or just need a little more clarification as to how Whatnot's fee structure works, this video is for you. Today, I'm breaking down just how Whatnot's fee structure works so that you can make sure that you're making the most on every sale. I'm going to jump into the tips right now, but make sure you stick around to the end for some bonus content and some tips on how to make sure you're maximizing all the money you can make on Whatnot. All right, jumping right into it, there are 3 basic numbers you need to know when starting to break down what Whatnot's fee structure looks like. First up is going to be the overall 8% commission fee that is applied to any and all sales. Every sale has an automatic 8% that's going to be applied to the subtotal of your item. So this is going to be the item's general cost. If you sell an item for $20, 8% is being applied to just that $20. This is going to be the fee that Whatnot earns for you selling on their platform. The next fee is going to be the transaction fee, which is 2.9%. And this fee is applied to the total of your entire order, the subtotal, the shipping, and the taxes. I'm going to break those first 2 fees down in just a moment, but I do want to go ahead and cover the third fee, which is going to be the payment processing fee of 30 cents per individual transaction. If it's an item that's sold on auction, it's 30 cents. If it's an item bought in the buy it now, it's 30 cents. Any amount of items within one singular item is 30 cents. You can sell one auction that has 5 items included, it's 30 cents, or one auction that only has 1 item and it's 30 cents. It's per every individual transaction that is made on Whatnot. Quick side note on fees, there are a few categories that have lower fee structures. This 8% is the general commission fee for most transactions. Let me go ahead and just explain really quick what the other fee structures are for certain categories. So first and foremost, there's a lower commission on coins and money category. It's only 4%. There's also a reduced commission fee on the electronics category, which comes in at 5%. And then there are a high value item commission fee. So any item that sells for more than $1,500, one single item, the amount above $1,500 is not commissioned. So if you sell an item for $1,600, that $100 will go into your pocket and will only receive the 2.9% processing fee added to it, as opposed to the overall main commission. Many people aren't going to sell items that high, but if you do ever have high value items that you're selling on Whatnot, keep that in mind. One thing that you will never get a commission on is going to be your tips. If a buyer ever tips you in your show, you will receive 100% of that tip. There is no commission that is taken to Whatnot. That tip goes directly into your pocket. All right, let's go ahead and break down those fees with an example. We love tangible examples. So I'll pop some stuff up here on the screen for you so you can kind of follow along. Let's start off by saying you sell an item for $25. So right off of the bat, you're going to be charged 8% for that cost of $25, not including the shipping and taxes that are charged. Just the total price of the item, $25, is going to get that 8% fee, which is coming out to $2. Then the transaction fee, it's going to be 2.9% charged on the total of the item, including sales tax and shipping. And then of course that 30-cent fee, with that 30-cent fee and your 2.9%, your total charge from that should be $1.03. So your final payout for that one $25 item sold should be $21.97. Now let's just say hypothetically you source this item for $5. Your real profit is $16.97 from an item that you sold for $25 on Whatnot. All right, so I mentioned that 2.9% fee, and I want to go ahead and break that down just a little bit further for you. As I mentioned, the 8% is just kind of standard. It's across the board. It's the commission that Whatnot receives for hosting your selling abilities on their platform. For you being able to sell on their platform, they say, hey, we're taking 8% of the well, that's our cut, right? But 2.9% is kind of a standard fee across most selling platforms. There is a kind of a transaction processing type of fee structure in most platforms. And for the 2.9%, I just want to kind of break it down because I see a lot of people trying to kind of calculate their payouts. And a lot of times there's discrepancy, and I'm going to kind of explain why you can look at one $10 sale and another $10 sale from 2 different buyers, and why your payout on both of those items might actually be different. The main reason for why this price payout might be different is because you need to keep in mind that sales tax varies in different states, as well as the shipping cost of an item can vary. So that one $10 item that you sold may have weighed 2 or 3 pounds, and the shipping might have been a little bit more, versus the other $10 item only weighed 4 ounces and the shipping was a bit lower. So that 2.9% is going to come in lower based on the shipping, right? like I said as well, the taxes. There are 5 states that do not have sales tax locally. So you're not going to be paying a percentage of sales tax on some orders from some buyers in certain states. If you happen to care, those states are going to be Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon that do not have any local sales tax. In most states, sales tax ranges from about 2.75% all the way up to about 7.9% on the higher end. So that 2.9% total charge on the overall transaction cost is going to vary depending on the shipping cost and the sales tax that's actually charged to each order. So just keep this in mind overall, that the weight of your items and the state that you're selling the items to are going to impact your overall payout. Selling items that are a little bit heavier or maybe bulkier and require larger boxing and packaging may end up costing you a little bit more money versus items that are a lot lighter or require very small packaging, especially things like trading cards and pins. Those things are much smaller and the shipping overall on those is a lot lower versus someone selling maybe collectible things like antiques or heavy glassware and things like that. Even me selling books, I can sell a big pile of books that weighs 25 pounds and the shipping might be, $15 or $20. And I, of course, am going to have to pay a fee on the total cost of those items that I sell. So that's pretty much the overall 10.9% standard kind of commission processing fee structure that you're going to see on most platforms that you sell on. There may be higher or lower commission fees on different platforms, but it's a pretty standard process that the platform is going to take a little bit of money, and then there is processing fees when you're using different banking and payment processing platforms, of course, right? What might be new to you though is that 30 cent per transaction fee, and I really want to take a second to dive into that so that you can truly understand how 30 cents per transaction can actually drastically affect your profits. So as you know, Whatnot is an auction platform primarily, and most sellers are going to utilize doing auctions within their show, which essentially is the idea of having an individual item or multiple items and running it as a single auction, and winner takes that item. But keep in mind that every time you run an individual auction, you are going to incur that 30 cent transaction fee per every single transaction that Whatnot has to process. As you may know, I actually sell a little bit differently. While I do run auctions in my show, I primarily sell my books in bundles, which means I'm taking requests throughout my show and putting books into a stack until that person is ready to cash out. And then I'm taking their whole stack of books and putting it into the buy it now so that they can make a purchase one time for all the books that they wanted. That is only going to cost me 30 cents per bundle purchase. So that means every bundle I'm only getting charged 30 cents as opposed to 30 cents for every single book that's in that stack, right? So let's go ahead and use an example and say that I created a bundle that had 15 books in it and I put that into the buy it now and the buyer bought that bundle of 15 books. I would be charged 30 cents total for that entire bundle of 15 books. Now let's say on the auction end, I ended up running all 15 of those books on their own, and instead of doing a bundle, I ran 15 individual auctions for that one buyer to buy. I would end up having to come out of pocket $4.50 for all of the fees of 15 items, as opposed to 30 cents for the same 15 items. So that's why I highly encourage bundling if it's possible for you. Obviously, I know not everyone's able to bundle. So when you're running a manageable amount of items, that number is really going to be negligible. It's not going to add up and impact your costs that much. But if you are planning on running large volumes of items and doing auctions for a lot of items over the course of your show, just keep that in mind, as that 30 cents will rapidly add up. I do need to show another example. I'll put in a screen recording here. I was just doing a little bit of research and I came across this seller who was doing a lot of $1 starts on their books, which is great. It's a really good way to draw people in by doing low starts. However, when I navigated over to the sold tab, I noticed that a lot of their items were actually selling for $1. So I wanted to just go ahead and let you know that if you sell an item for $1 on Whatnot, your average payout is about 59 cents. It can vary, of course, a little lower or a little higher depending on the sales tax and the total shipping cost of that one item. But for one single item that sells for $1, your payout is roughly 59 cents, which when you look at it that way is a lot closer to 50% in fees versus the original 10.9%. So just keep that in mind when you're selling lower cost items, that 30 cents really cuts into your profits, because now instead of selling a single item for $5 or $10 and 30 cents being part of your fee, you're selling it for $1 with 30 cents part of your fee. So just really keep that in mind if you do plan on doing $1 or low starts, how that 30 cents really does add up. So just a few tips to kind of make more money and keep more money in your pockets when selling on Whatnot. One great way to mitigate the fees, as I mentioned, is bundling. And I know that bundling is not going to be a viable option for every seller. It may not be your preference to do bundles, or maybe it doesn't work into your reselling schedule, or it doesn't actually meet your goals when you think about selling on Whatnot. That's totally understandable, but bundling is definitely a great way to lower those transaction costs. Another tip is that I'm a firm believer that you make most of your money in the buy of the item. Obviously, selling the item is where the money actually comes in. However, if you are buying items and sourcing items for a much higher initial cost than you should be, when you can especially get the same or similar items for cheaper, you need to keep that in mind when you're coming to Whatnot. When Whatnot first got started, it was kind of known as a liquidation site. There was a lot of sellers who came on and did a lot of those $1 starts and moved a ton of inventory very, very quick, liquidating stuff out of their inventory. They are often sellers that sold on eBay or more established platforms and utilized Whatnot as a way to kind of offload. However, it's not really that way anymore. And it's really important that you're bringing good quality items to Whatnot that you are selling at a fair price for both you and the buyer. This is going to ensure consistent sales and increase your loyal buyer market. So just consider that when you're outsourcing. Another tip is using that low pricing strategy strategically. It's great to build the excitement with low starts, but you really would hate to see items sell for $1 or $2 or $3 consistently, with that 30 cents adding up super, super quickly. And at the end of a big show, you're left with 30, 40, 50, even sometimes $60 worth of fees just in that solo 30-cent transaction fee. And then of course, make sure you know your margins. Factor that in when you are setting your prices. You don't want to outsell yourself because you are actually setting your pricing initially way lower than you need to compensate for, of course, your time and your initial investment and cost of goods. Hopefully that was a good overall explanation of how the Whatnot fee structure works, and you feel a little bit more confident dipping your toe into the Whatnot selling platform. Learning new fee structures can sometimes feel really daunting, especially when you're dabbling into new platforms, but hopefully I've set some of your worries at bay and you feel a lot more confident getting started on Whatnot. What's super fun is that once you start selling more often, you'll actually start to be able to start guesstimating what your payout will be. You'll see what your total sales are, and kind of knowing how fee structures work, you'll start to be able to guesstimate how much you're actually making as your actual revenue from those sales. All right, as I promised, a couple of just bonus tips, things that I want to share, just little reminders and helpful tips to help guide you through your way on Whatnot. So one of the big things to keep in mind is discounts and coupon codes. Remember that they do definitely cut into your profits alongside with the Whatnot fees. So there are coupons and the Whatnot's Rewards Club, where these are going to reward buyers with coupons and discounts that they can use on future purchases in your show from making purchases already. Using introductory coupons is a great way to get new buyers. However, just keep that in mind that they can cut in drastically to your overall sales when you look at the dashboard at the end of your show and see that maybe $20 or $30 was spent in coupons. If you're doing smaller shows to begin with, that $20 or $30 may really impact your overall net payout. So just keep in mind the way you're setting up coupons and how you're setting up your rewards program, and just ensuring that it works for both you and the buyer. The next thing to keep in mind is going to be giveaways, and thinking about how giveaways come into play when it's calculating your overall profit from a show. Many sellers obviously do giveaways to attract buyers and bring in potential eyes onto your items, but those items that you're using for giveaways do still cost you money. So keep in mind, how much are you spending on your giveaway items, as well as the shipping costs of shipping those items out. If you're doing follower only giveaways or everyone only giveaways, you are paying the shipping on those items, versus if you do a buyer's giveaway, the buyer has already paid their initial shipping. However, if you do a regular giveaway, you are paying for the shipping for that giveaway to run, which oftentimes is close to $4 or $5 minimum. So just keep that in mind when you're putting giveaways into your store as well. Very good to attract buyers, but there is a cost associated. And then of course, another great tip to keep in mind is that your time is your money. Consider the time that you're spending sourcing, prepping, and hosting your shows, because it really matters what your average hourly rate is. You matter and your time matters. So make sure that you're not overworking yourself and overextending yourself, putting way more time into the platform than you should be, and that you're making an appropriate hourly wage or a number overall that works for you and your business. All right, let's just talk real quick about about Whatnot's payout timeline, and then we'll wrap it up. So Whatnot typically holds your payments for about 48 to 72 hours after delivery, just to confirm that the buyer had no issues with your order. Now, if a buyer opens up a claim or has an issue, which is very rare, but if they do, Whatnot will hold your funds from that specific order until they can kind of figure out the return and what needs to be taken care of. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about cash flow and how that works when you're sourcing and selling with these larger periods of times of waiting for shipping to happen, especially during the holidays. Shipping can get quite delayed. So just keep in mind that your cash flow is important to keep your business running on Whatnot. You always want to be able to go out and source items and bring them back to the platform. So until you hit that 1,000 sale mark, your payments will be put on hold until the item is delivered, and then usually about a day or two after, those funds will be released into your account. I mentioned the 1,000 sales mark, and if you're not familiar, once you hit 1,000 sales on Whatnot, you actually activate instant payout. As long as your account is in good standing and you've hit 1,000 sales, Whatnot will now allow your cash flow to increase. As soon as you generate the label for your orders, you will actually get an instant payout to your account, no longer having to wait for items to be delivered. You just get the payment right away, which allows you to take that money, go back out, invest it in more quality inventory, and keep the shows flowing. So this is a really, really fun thing that happens when you hit 1,000 sales, which is why you might see sellers on the app saying, we're pushing to 1,000 sales, 1,000 sale push, because once you hit that, you get that instant payout, which is amazing. Last thing I'm going to mention regarding commissions and Whatnot fees is that sometimes Whatnot actually offers discounted or reduced commissions, which is so much fun. Usually on things like Black Friday, they'll offer 0% commissions for all sellers for a period of time. I know for 4th of July, they usually do like a 4% commission versus the traditional 8% commission, which is a great discount to sellers. And then even on holidays or things where there's not typically a lot of buyers and sellers on the platform, for example, Super Bowl this last year, I think they were offering 2% commission for the hours that were roughly around the Super Bowl. It was like mid-afternoon to like midnight that night. I believe it was only 2% commission fees, just to encourage people to be on the platform. So always keep an eye out for when Whatnot is offering those reduced commission fees. That makes so much of an impact on your overall like net revenue that you make in a show, as opposed to having to, of course, pay those fees out to Whatnot. As always, if this breakdown helped you out, please like and subscribe. Definitely make sure you're dropping a comment below. If there's any Whatnot related topics you would like for me to cover, please let me know in the comments. Not only do I answer all comments, but I always like to take your feedback and put them into possible future videos. So let me know what you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you all next Thursday. Bye.